Hi everybody, very welcome to Mentor and yet another video podcast. As always, I hope you're doing absolutely fantastic. This is a special podcast that I've done in order to explain a little bit what's going on surrounding the collapse of Thomas Cook, the travel agency and the airline. We're going to talk a little bit about what will happen to all of the passengers that are out there scattered over the globe, what will happen to the employees, and what about the aircraft and the slots that Thomas Cook owns. I also want to finish off a little bit about what's going on in the airline business in Europe with all of these bankruptcies. So stay tuned.
Wind 31016, everyone right, set all right. Third warning, 31 Delta 26.
Okay, so I woke up this morning, just like most of you guys, hearing about the collapse of Thomas Cook. Now, Thomas Cook is a travel operator that owns airlines, mostly based out of the UK, but also out of Scandinavia and Germany. And it's a huge company. It's been around for well over 100 years. It has about 9,000 employees. And right now, there are about 600,000 people out on package holidays that was, arranged by Thomas Cook all over the globe. So when they filed for bankruptcy this morning, all of these people, the employees, the travelers, the hotels, all of the suppliers that are supplying to hotels, essentially is left hanging. What's going on? What's going to happen? Well, if you look at the passengers to start with, if you are a passenger watching this and you don't know what's happening, what I've done is that I've tried to find some helpful links, and in the description here to the video there are links primarily from the UK CAA. So it's primarily from people who's flown out from the United Kingdom, but you can go in there and you can click those links and you can see what information is already available. You can also go to thomascook.com where there will be other kind of links showing you where to go. It's fairly complicated. It depends on where your trip originated from. It depends on if you have bought your own flight tickets and you only have hotels, or whatever your circumstances is. So if you haven't flown from the UK, well then I would recommend you to contact your embassy, the country that you're from or where you flew from, and get as much information as possible. Now, you can expect quite a bit of queues and delays to this, right? Because of the sheer scale of this. So what will happen now is something called repatriation. Okay, that is basically when a country steps in order to help its citizens or people that's flown from its airports to get them back to where they came from in case a company fails. And in this case, since it's over 600,000 people, it's estimated about 150,000 people that needs to get back to the UK alone. It is one of the biggest repatriations in history outside of wartime. So how is this done then? Well, the fact is that the UK government in this case, and it's probably going to be other governments out there as well that will have to do the same, they will have mandated the UK CAA to start planning this repatriation. And this means that the UK CAA will now go out and they will talk to different operators. It can be companies that are specialized in doing contract work, maybe charter airlines or something from all over the world. And they're going to try to get them in, pay them to fly into the UK, and then go out and get people from all of the 51 destinations that Thomas Cook had. Okay? So that's what's going to happen. It's going to cost the taxpayers a lot of money to do this, but obviously people need to be able to get back. You can't just strand people randomly all over the world without any chance to get back. There will also be a significant amount of people who will travel back on other airlines and will be able to claim that money back. But once again, you have to go down to these links and see how you should be doing this. Also, this repatriation will not just happen today. It will be for the next 2 weeks. So from the 23rd of September 2019 to the 6th of October 2019, it will take place. So if you're on a holiday right now and your travel back date is going to be in a week or so, then you don't have to go back to the airport and try to get home now. It's likely that your trip is going to be fixed by the government closer to the date that you were originally supposed to go home. So just think about that, okay? Originally, there were rumors out there that only people who have ATOL protection, which is a UK package holiday protection, would be able to get their trips paid home. But I think the latest news that we've heard anyway is that everyone who originated from the UK, as in flew from a UK airport with Thomas Cook out, will be brought back in again. One way or another. Might not be exactly to the same airport that you came from, but in that case, apparently, the UK CAA will try to arrange buses and things to get you back. It's going to be a mess, this. All right, this is a government entity that's trying to do the work of a skilled travel company, and you know how much problems there can be when a travel company is trying to do these things. So be patient and remember that the people that you're talking to, the employees, it's not their fault. Everyone is going to try to do their absolute best to get everyone home. Now, the real sad story here is not so much the passengers, even if they will be under duress for a while. It's the employees, because when they woke up this morning, the company that paid their paychecks had gone into bankruptcy. This means that they no longer have a job. So there's going to be about 9,000 people in the hotels, obviously my colleagues, the pilots, the cabin crew, the engineers, that all of a sudden doesn't have a job to go to. Now, when these things happens in the airline industry, the industry tends to try to step up. This means that companies that are hiring at the moment, they will go in and maybe do fast tracks for these people. I heard about a couple of companies doing that already this morning. So hopefully a lot of the people will be able to find jobs within the industry somewhere else. Now, obviously, it's still going to be disruptive. There's still going to be people having to move, maybe to less salary, maybe to a different part of the world. But still, hopefully, as many people as possible will be absorbed into the rest of the industry. When it comes to the assets of Thomas Cook, so for example, the aircraft or the slots, this is already being taken by the government. As in, the UK government already this morning started impounding aircraft, making sure that they couldn't be moved. And the reason for this is that the reason for the bankruptcy is that Thomas Cook couldn't pay their bills. So there are people out there that are owed money. And the bankruptcy is going to try to get as much money out of Thomas Cook as possible to pay all of the people that they owe money to. This means that the slots that are if you don't know what a slot is, it's in this occasion, it's basically a takeoff time and a landing time at an airport. That's very, very attractive. So because it's really, really tight to get times to land and take off in, for example, Heathrow or Manchester, these slots are worth a lot of money. And those are going to most likely be sold to the highest bidder. So other airlines will come in and bid for the slots, especially at the attractive times in the mornings and in the evening. And all of the money that's gathered from that is going to go to pay the bills for Thomas Cook. Same goes for the aircraft. A lot of the aircraft that were operated by Thomas Cook were operated on a lease basis. Those aircraft will go back to the companies that own them. The aircraft that were owned by Thomas Cook themselves are most likely going to be sold off to other airlines that will, need them, require them. And once again, the money is going to be sent out to whoever needs to be paid. So that will happen with all of the assets, with all of its, if they own hotels, if they own office buildings, everything like that. Okay? So this is unfortunately not the first time that this happens in 2019. In fact, that only since the beginning of the year, we've seen Germania go bankruptcy, we've seen XL Airways, we've seen WOW Air, we've seen Fly BMI, and we've seen a lot of other airlines go bust as well. So why is this happening? Well, if we go back and watch my videos from just a year ago, my live streams, a year ago everything was looking fine. The industry was booming, there was a lot of work everywhere. But what has happened during the last year is that there's been increased uncertainty in the world, politically in the world. We look at things like conflicts down in the Gulf around Iran. We've seen Brexit coming closer and closer. and a general feeling that the economy is kind of turning downwards. Now, the airline business is probably one of the most sensitive businesses when it comes to changes in the economy. As soon as the first thing that happens when people feel that, well, I don't know what's going to happen now, is that they stop traveling. Okay, so luxury trips, going to, for day trips around Europe or something like that, they're going to stop doing that. So that will hit the airlines immediately. Other things, for example, Brexit is a huge deal, and this is probably what really brought down Thomas Cook, because when the British public didn't really know what would happen to the package holidays when Brexit happened, well, they just stopped booking them, because it's better to book, next year when we know how Brexit is going to look. And of course, that hit immediately down to the bottom line of Thomas Cook and other operators that does the same thing in the UK. On top of that, there has been over the last year an overcapacity in the airline business in Europe. There's been too many airlines, basically. And what we're seeing now is that the ones with the weakest economy, they are now becoming more and more sensitive to changes, for example, in the oil price. So after the oil price hike last weekend, it's likely that even more airlines are going to start having problems paying their bills. So I don't think that Thomas Cook is going to be the last bankruptcy in 2019. Unfortunately, there's probably more to come. It's part of a general downturn, and these things are cyclical. All right, the airline business, as in globally, is still doing good because we have huge growth sectors in China, in India, and Middle East, around there. But in the more mature economies, like in Europe, for example, where there has been an overcapacity, it is likely that now, as the economic downturn is coming, we will see the airline business kind of tapering off a little bit. It doesn't mean that it's going to be impossible to get a job, don't get me wrong. But I think that we're going to see a little bit, it's going to be a bit harder again. But then again, if Brexit comes and it's solved in a good way, if it calms down in the Middle East and the oil prices stays low, and we see a general positive upturn of the economy, for example, if the 737 MAX gets back on its feet and starts flying again, well then this time next year it might be a completely different picture, and we might be well up to a bubbling economy inside of the airline business again. So, don't freak out because of this, okay? But be a little bit aware that right now, from having been at a very, very high level, the airline business is now moving down a little bit. At least that's what all of the indications shows. Right, guys, that's all I had for today, really. If you want to come in and discuss this, obviously I'm in there in the Mentour Aviation app together with other airline pilots as well. We're there to answer these kind of questions. Do ask your questions. So if you're sitting out there now and you need more help than this, then make sure that you go to either Thomas Cook's homepage. It will link you on to where you need to go, or you can talk to the embassy to get more information about your specific case. I hope that this has been helpful to you. Have an absolutely fantastic day wherever you are, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Right, guys, I really hope that you liked that. If you want more content like that, more aviation content, well then check this out. I hope that you have subscribed to the channel and that you've highlighted the little notification bell. See you inside of the Mentour Aviation app, and have an absolutely fantastic day. Bye-bye.